Welcome to another episode of In This Corner with Weighing In with Travis Hartman with your host right now, which is me. I am joined by a veteran of the show now too, the owner of UFC gyms in Winter Springs, Mike Sawyer. However, he's not here to promote the gym. He's here to promote, he has a pro show going on this Saturday as well as an amateur show before that. Mike, can you fill us in on some details about the amateur show and then the pro show as well?
First of all, weighing in with Travis Hartman is hands down my favorite YouTube channel. I watch every show. Yeah, huge fan of the show. You and Waters really do your thing, man. This is amazing. It's great for boxing. I tell everyone about it when I talk to them, and they're always come back to me like, "Man, that guy knows his stuff, man."
I appreciate that.
So, yeah, the show there's two shows in one day. State of Florida, you cannot do a pro-am show. You can't do it. They don't allow it. So there's two shows in one day. Both shows are going to be at the Hilton in Altamonte Springs in the big ballroom. Beautiful venue. The amateur portion of the show is called Haymakers at the Hilton. Starts at noon. We're looking to get people out of there by 4, but we all know amateur shows tend to have start a little late and run a little bit over. So 12 to 4 is the guideline I'm giving. Weigh-in for that is at 7 a.m. on Saturday. The pro show is called Havoc at the Hilton, and it is going to be Havoc at the Hilton. None of the fights on this show are more than 6 rounds. A bunch of local guys battling it out. We got a lot of local fighters, so there's some great crosstown rivalries. Now that portion of the show, doors will open at 7:30. Sorry, doors will open at 6:30. First fight is at 7:30
For the pro show, okay.
for the pro show. And there's a full bar there, so drink to your heart's content. There is a restaurant in the arena, so you're going to be able to eat anytime you want. Good food too. It's the Hilton. Dress to impress. It's a nice place. There's no dress code per se, but this is a place you want to bring out the little lady and look sharp. And, this is a good place to do that. And we're going to have some really, really competitive matchups.
So for clarification, the amateur show is a separate ticket from the pro show as well, right?
Correct.
Because they are two different shows based on the Florida Commission rules. You can't have pro-am and a pro show together. So it's two different shows. So when people come, make sure you know that the amateur fights are a different ticket than the pro fights as well. And the amateur fights are scheduled to start at 11. And the pro fights are scheduled to start at 7:30. Doors open at 6:30. And it's at the Hilton in Altamonte Springs. And Mike Sawyer Promotions is promoting it. And Mike, can you get tickets on your website and as well as probably the local fighters?
Absolutely. MikeSawyerPromotions.com is the website where you can get tickets. And I want to make a quick correction. The doors open for the amateur fights at 11. The first fight
12.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the doors open 11. The first fight for amateurs is 12. It'll run till about 4 or 5-ish. But then the pro show, doors open at 6:30. Fights will start at 7:30. And this is the Havoc at the Hilton is the pro show name.
Yes,
and
sir.
the amateur show name is, what's the name of that one?
Haymakers.
Haymakers. I like it. It's pretty good. Yeah, I see what you did there. It's kind of nice. Nice marketing there. Nice name.
Thank you.
So do you have a scheduled main event, or are you just kind of like everybody is the deal here? Or is there one fight that you have as a main event? Or you are not advertising as a main event except like everybody's fighting? Let's come watch them all.
Well, the show is called Happy the Hilton. I'm going to do more of the shows at this venue. They've been great. This show is called Return of the Three Kings. Unfortunately, one of the Three Kings is really in bad shape, sick, wasn't able to train properly, wasn't able to cut the weight. Amos Coart is not on the show, but I'm still sticking with the name, and we're sticking Julio Rosa in there as the third.
Good one. That's a good one.
Yep, sure is. He might be the most exciting fighter in Central Florida. You never see a bad fight when Julio Rosa's in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him multiple times. I've seen him on a couple box light cards. I've seen him on a couple box lab cards. So I've seen that kid live a couple different times, and like he can fight. He's tough. You don't pad his record. He comes
Oh,
to win every single time. They don't give him gimmies. So I mean, he's your throwback type of fighter, and I like that. I think that his fight will be a fan friendly fight no matter what.
yep. So I
So
guess
who
I'm
other?
back some guys. I'm bringing back some guys. Can you, Travis?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, Phil. Speak of the devil, Phil Penson, phenomenal Phil Penson, calling in, call waiting. But I can call him right back.
Go easy, Phil.
Yeah, hold tight. So Phil Penson is quote unquote the main event. He has been off for over.
I just took your video off there, Mike. I don't have your video.
Okay, how about now?
Nope.
Oh man, how do we get that back?
Reopen the link, maybe.
Technology.
There we go. I got you.
Okay, so phenomenal Phil Penson is fighting a really tough veteran named Mike Diorio out of New York. Who else? Joshua Super Butler, Big Soup, is fighting on the show. He's fighting another Florida guy, Joseph White.
Okay.
Julio's in really tough. He's fighting a guy from Key West, I think originally from Central America. Dane Smeekle, who has not been in the ring for, I think he's been out for about a year and a half. He's representing Mike Sawyer Promotions these days.
Nice.
He's my guy, and he's in tough. He's fighting Terry Roscoe, which, if you know anything about Terry Roscoe, I mean, he'll make the savviest veteran look bad. His record's not very shiny, but he comes to fight. He always earns his money. Terry Roscoe's a good opponent for Dane.
I think it is, and then also Tiffany Taylor is making her pro debut, right?
Yes, this is a one and done for Tiff. You know Tiff. I know Tiff. 53 years old. She's an inspiration. Works at the gym, UFC gym, Winter Springs. She's been here for, gosh, over a decade. And I can't wait to see Tiffany do this fight. And I'm so glad I can make this happen for her.
Yeah, I know this is a second go around. She had some injuries or something for the first time around. So this will be kind of cool to see her finally get in that ring. I know we talked about it quite a bit, but that's pretty cool. I mean, 53 years old, making your professional women's debut. It's
Yeah.
kind of neat, I guess you could say, for sure. Hope everything goes well. But that's kind of cool. And I just found out last night that she's fighting a guy that I know, or a trainer that I know is bringing a girl up, Craig Kidfire Cummings.
Yep.
So you've kind of thrown a little Midwest thing in there for me, Mike. I appreciate that because those are old stomping grounds.
Welcome.
Craig Cummings, I've known him since I was 6 years old because his dad used to be a help coach the Zeagles in Cameron, Missouri. So I've known him literally since I was 6 years old. Craig Cummings, I think he's in his 50s now too. Former pro fighter, guy made his pro debut at Madison Square Garden, Mike. Like the guy, he can fight. So you've got some good people coming. You got some good people coming to this show. So I like that. I like the fights that are pretty evenly matched up. So we should see some excitement there. But also, I hope everybody knows that the amateur portion of this amateur fights, they've become some of my favorite fights now because these guys are fighting to be pro one day. So they're really trying to put on a show. And you see little kids all the way from 8 years old all the way up. So I highly recommend people go check out the amateur show. And if you're up for it, a full day of boxing, pro shows as well are going to be just as exciting because you got some good veteran guys there. You got some good local guys there. So I think it'll be a good show. And this is what, your second pro show that you've promoted now under Mike Sawyer Promotions?
Second, I got another show August 23rd at the Ritz. And then I'll be back at the Hilton in November. So we're keeping it busy, building relationships with these venues.
And you've done multiple different amateur shows now too. I think you've done more amateur shows, haven't you, than pro shows?
Yes, that's correct. I have done a lot of shows at the Lake Howell High School, which is close to my gym. So I have a relationship, great staff, great people to work with over there.
And I know I've had a couple guys fight on those cards too from my gym over here. And we have another guy scheduled to fight on your show again. I know that John has been doing an amazing job matchmaking and doing stuff like that on the amateur side. Definitely appreciating him. He's a good guy.
I want to shout out three people, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about the fights because there's some really compelling matchups on the show. John Andrews, I don't know what I'd do without him. He's my right hand man in everything I do, both with the gym and in boxing. Hector Guerra, who designed the website and the ticket sales, is a huge asset for Mike Sawyer Promotions. And Aaron Skinner, you know how difficult the
Mm-hmm.
appreciated and most important role that people play in boxing is the matchmaker. And Aaron Skinner is really, really top notch. So I want to shout out those three guys because they're necessary to make these shows happen.
Yeah, I mean, all those guys for sure. I know that the matchmaking it's a tough one because it's just very tough. So Aaron definitely got a tough task on his hands. So you're definitely blessed to have him part of the team.
Yeah, if I may, I want to talk about a couple more.
Absolutely.
Man, look, crosstown rivalry. Mikael Zurdo Hernandez is fighting Zeke Martinez. Uh, Local people that have been around this scene for a long time will recognize the name Zeke Martinez. He went to Nationals, had a great amateur career. He's been off for 10 years. So his last amateur fight was over 10 years ago. The guy can fight. I've seen some clips of him, but he's sort of a mystery. What does he still have left?
Mm-hmm.
But big local following and a great guy to work with too. His dad Gil it's been a real pleasure working with him. Uh, he's fighting Zurdo, which he is more of a known commodity. The guy comes to fight 5-2, so he's going to be a tall task for a pro debuter.
Yeah.
He fights out of a number of gyms, but I think he fights out of Angus Marksman's gym out in Sanford. So and he's got his own base of fans. So I really
Oh
think
yeah.
fireworks in that fight. You got let me see, Yoandri Rodriguez, the Cuban giant. So last show I had, he was in a very competitive back and forth fight with a guy from Tampa, Alex Cook, and he slept Alex Cook where they had to give Cook smelling salts.
I was there. I was at the Ritz, right? At Sanford.
Scary knockout. He's back on this show. And who else? Christian Buddha Rivera, who might be, I said Julio is the most exciting fighter. Christian Rivera is the one that immediately comes to mind as far as giving him a run for being the most exciting fighter in Central Florida. All of his fights are back and forth. He takes shots, he gives shots, he can box a little, he can brawl a little, he's physically strong, and he's just a guy that doesn't like to take a step backward like Julio. If you're in there every second of every round, Buddha's going to be in your chest, chopping away at you.
I love it how you know all of these nicknames too, Mike. You are like the king of nicknames, and I appreciate that. I don't know any of those nicknames, but like that's pretty cool. You know nicknames like it's nobody's business.
Travis, I thank you for the compliment. You just reminded me that Carl the Freak Peak is going to be the main event on the amateur portion of the show.
I remember Carl. Yes.
Oh yeah, so he is homegrown. When I say that boy came in here at 9 years old and told me right here at the front desk, stood right here and said, "I'm going to be the heavyweight boxing champion of the world" at 9 years old, and
Let's go.
he's on his way.
Dude, he's a big guy too, right? He's 6 foot, what, 4, 6'5", something like maybe taller.
Yeah, I think he's almost 6'5", and he's fighting a rematch. Shout out to Dorian Beaupierre over at Elite Boxing. He's fighting a rematch against one of Dorian's guys. The guy's name I can't recall for the moment, but this guy just beat Carl about 3 weeks ago. So this is a heated rematch,
I love that.
and it's gym wars. It's
Yeah.
Gym Winter Springs against Elite Boxing and Fitness right up the street from us. So we want to win this one.
Yeah. That's good for the gyms.
Man, listen, Travis, I wasn't as organized as I should have been. The Cayman Islands national team, 3 of their fighters are matched against Orlando guys on this show. So we got an international flavor on the amateur portion of this show. Very excited to have those guys around.
That's definitely a cool little appeal to the fights too. So the amateur fights are getting more exciting that you're talking about it. So I'm glad that you're kind of going in more about it, because the amateur fights, like I said, I'm a big fan of the amateur fighting for sure. I'm a big fan of the pro fighting because I was that too. But I think the amateurs is going to be super exciting. So if you want your ticket, it's MikeSawyerPromotions.com. They're fighting at the Hilton in Altamonte Springs, and the amateur fights start at 12 noon. Doors open at 11. Pro fights will be after 6:30, 7:30. 6:30 doors open, 7:30 is when the first pro fight is. However, get your amateur boxing tickets now too, boys, because I'm telling you, this is going to be good. Carl the Freak Peak is going to be the main event. If you've seen him fight, he's fought a couple times at the high school too. I've seen some of those fights. He's always in exciting fights too, Mike. I haven't seen him in a boring fight, so he's an exciting fighter too.
Carl comes to fight, man. And he is, like I said, homegrown. Pat Country Boy Washington's been training him since he was 11 years old. When he was 9 to 11, Iceman John Scully trained him, and then Pat took over at 11. And that's we expect really big things from Carl. He's really sportsmanlike. The fight with Carl is getting him to be a little bit meaner because he's a really nice kid.
Yeah,
and Christian, gives his praises before and after the fight to the Lord our God. And we're excited about Carl and the sport of boxing.
That's good. I love that you're giving these kids a platform there at the UFC gym in Winter Springs. I know that you have a nice little amateur boxing program there. You mentioned a little bit about, do you have a pro fighting out of there now? Because you said somebody's fighting with Winter Springs right now, UFC gym Winter Springs. Who is that pro?
Dane Wavy Smeekle. He is
Smeekle.
He is his dad was an Olympic boxer from Jamaica. Dane is as talented as you get, man. Every weapon in the arsenal Dane has. Now it's just a matter of me doing my job, promoting him correctly, getting his name out there. And but you're really in for a treat. He's fighting Terry Roscoe, who's, man, he'll bring the best out of anyone. Terry really comes to fight. So this is a big test for Dane, being off a year and a half. But he is fighting out of this gym. Marcelo Williams is not on this show. And Mason Wickett also call UFC gym Winter Springs their home. And then the best known of anyone here, maybe ever, is Angel Set It Off Gonzalez, ranked top 15 in the world. And we're amateurs, pros. Pick your poison. We got you here at UFC Gym Winter Springs.
I love it, man. I love it. You're doing a great thing over there. I know these kids in the amateur program. It's pretty awesome. They have a place to call home, UFC Gym Winter Springs. It's kind of cool. These kids are getting off the streets, staying out of trouble, and dedicating themselves to something. I say this all the time. Parents, get your kids involved in some martial art, and boxing is one of the martial arts as well, but get them involved in some martial art. I think it's the best thing for them, discipline wise, fitness wise, just keeping them active. And you have a nice program over there, Mike. I see kids there all the time in the amateur part. That I know John does a lot of that too. So I mean, I'm glad to see that. Again, it's UFC Gym Winter Springs. It's off Redbug and Tuscaloosa. I remember that because I used to live over by there. But go check that out. Don't forget, these fights are this weekend, March 8th, at the Altamonte Springs at the Hilton. And there's amateur show first from noon to about 4 or 5. The pro show, doors open at 6:30, fights start at 7:30 at the Hilton there in Altamonte Springs. And it's MikeSawyerPromotions.com. You can get your tickets there. Will some of the fighters have tickets in hand, though, as well, like this week?
Yes, but that's the weigh-ins are at 2:00 tomorrow. So get your
tickets. That's perfect. Where are the weigh-ins at? Are the weigh-ins at the Hilton as well? Or are they here?
2:00 at the Hilton.
Nice. So people go check that out. You can probably get tickets there too. But try your best to go to MikeSawyerPromotions.com. Get those tickets early now, because that place, the ballroom, probably will sell out. So definitely get your tickets, because those aren't huge venues. But for me, I think the ballroom boxing has been some of my favorite boxing matches to fight in and to go to. You actually probably end up seeing some better fights in those ballrooms than you'd even see on TV.
Club shows are the best.
Mike, man, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know you're at the gym right now. I know you probably got so much business to do. As I've been on the promoting side of these fights, I know it's a lot, but it's all worth it. I think that we appreciate what you're doing in the boxing scene there in Winter Springs, boxing scene in Florida. I guess not even just Winter Springs. You're doing it all over Sanford, Winter Springs, Winter Park, now Altamont Springs. So we appreciate what you're doing, Mike. Keep up the good work, man. And again, I appreciate you coming on the show time and time again. Is there anything you want to leave anybody with?
Hey, come on out Saturday night. Bring a date. It's going to be a really classy, fun show. Very fan-friendly fights that are going to be happening Saturday night.
Again, appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah,
We'd love to have you back afterwards, man. But definitely get out there, guys. This Saturday, Altamont Springs, the Hilton in that ballroom there. So God bless, Mike, and take care, brother.
you got it. Bye, Travis.
Thanks, bro.